The following video is my own opinion, and all of it is alleged regarding Pantone and how they create the color of the year. My research is not, I did not read every single article or do a super intense deep dive. So again, the whole thing is alleged, in my opinion, from a very specific scientific perspective. So keep that in mind. I do not want any lawsuits. So we will proceed now. Hello, my lovely trilobites and fossil fam. I was when Pantone announced the color of the year for 2025, which was obviously this time last year. I was like, what? Like, I really thought it was going to be kind of like a seafoam, sagey green color. Not just because I like seafoam and sagey green, but there was also a very limited data set behind it, right? So when it was so far off, I was like, huh, that's a little weird. I'm gonna try some new makeup while we talk about it. This is the Kimchi Chic lavender powder. This might make me look like a corpse under the eyes, but we're gonna try it anyway. Okay, so I kind of went down a rabbit hole of trying to figure out how Pantone came up with their color of the year, like how they went about doing it, like the scientific part of it, right? And they use a qualitative research method, a methodology that's very much anthropology based. And what they do is they look at emerging color influences. Sorry, I have notes, which is totally fine. And they look at it in like a variety of ways, like entertainment, art, fashion, like what films are in production, what colors are showing up on the fashion, like runways. They're looking at like what are the popular destination places for people to go to while traveling, all sorts of socioeconomic factors, a lot of politics, technology, social media, sports, all of those kind of human things, right? And I was like, oh wow, super qualitative research, which in my opinion is very subjective. I mean, a lot of research is subjective. They all have their pros and cons. And yes, I have conducted quantitative research a few times. It's not my area of expertise. I prefer not to do it. I like lab data. Okay, like I prefer a quantitative, but I specialize in design science research methodology. That's my particular specialty. And then I guess quant would be second. Okay. So keep that in mind. I mean, I have conducted qual, but it's not my cup of tea. Like I don't want to ask people about their feelings and code themes and blah, 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 blah. Like there's a whole bunch of different kinds, but it's not my area because I don't want to talk to people basically, nor do any of the things I'm researching correspond with people. You know what I mean? Like human stuff. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Okay. Sorry. I'm not. I'm fine talking about science in a lecture hall, but I don't. This is different because I'm discussing color. So this year, recently, Pantone announced that this year's color was white, and don't completely quote me on this. I just made like a Cliff Notes version. They picked white because they were like, oh, people want to be calm. They want to be, this and this and this. The first thing I thought of when I saw this and their explanation of the calming and like you can go read the whole thing, was that I'm like, oh, you picked the color of Xanax. I know, I have a prescription. I'm like, it is calming. That's its job. But I wouldn't necessarily, I'm not saying that's their rationale or anything. I just found it a amusing coincidence. So after last year's debacle of me not agreeing with their color, as I'm putting on brown liquid eyeshadow right now, the irony is not lost on me, is that I wanted to do my own kind of color analysis, not color analysis, but I wanted to go about it in a quantitative way where I actually wrote a lot of code. A lot of code went into this, by the way, and predominantly Python. And I used archive data in those same categories, but I also added in a lot of other variables, and I made my variables like very, very specific and defined. Um, it wasn't entirely all third-party archive data, but a lot of it was. My variables, especially when you get into socioeconomics and whatnot, um, and just things in general, a lot of it is archive data. You just need to make sure that it's collected correctly and the instrument that was used is reliable and valid and all sorts of such nerd things, right? Okay. So I wrote a program in Python and it was massive and it took me a really long time. Like I started this like November of last year, so this took me a long time. Um, and I have so many variables that I had to um, each variable, well, I have a massive amount of variables, first of all, which is a good thing. And second of all, each variable has almost an astronomical amount of data per variable, especially when you get into all of these things. Okay. And so I had to use I wrote the code on an external hard drive, and then I had to use a computer that is not my desktop to basically download those astronomically large data sets and have it run the program correctly, which actually took quite a while. But anyway, not as long as I thought, but decently long. I'm trying Shades by Shan stuff. I have their lipstick on in the shade Paris. I'm trying their liquid eyeshadow here, just for funsies. But anyway, so that's what I did with mine. And I got a different result because the way I had my program written was the output would be a wavelength, in nanometers, which corresponds to a color, on the spectrum. The result that Pantone got was white, which doesn't have a lambda value because white is a mixture of a lot of colors together. It's not a singular, like white is blah, blah, blah nanometers. Like it doesn't work that way in optics, in physics, right? I mean, you could have white light. Anyway, you see my point. White is a combination of a lot of color. Again, qualitative is not my area of expertise. So, and it's so subjective. It's like, it depends on who you talk to and when you talk to them and what's going on in their life. And you know what I mean? There's so many variables and I prefer just data, So there's a big difference there. I have to let those dry down. Anyway, the result that I got, and I'm not saying I didn't use color psychology, but I used color psychology in a quantitative way, not a qualitative way. It was more like, okay. So what Pantone does, they do a massive qualitative study that like spans the whole year. And they look at all sorts of things and then they like discuss it and then they consult with color. They do like color psychology, and then the global group like comes to a consensus of like we're going to agree on this one color. From my understanding, I could be wrong. There are several sources going on here in the articles and everything, so it can get a little weird. And again, not my primary area of expertise. So yeah, what I did was different. I actually wrote a program and then had it analyze the data and give me a result in nanometers, a number in nanometers that corresponds to a color. The result that I got, which is going to be in the thumbnail, it's like an indigo purple, for lack of a better word. I ended up getting a lambda of 392 nanometers, which is borderline on the visible spectrum. It's borderline ultraviolet. So it's a very like violet indigo, I'll put a picture up, but you'll see what I'm saying. I mean, you could see it, but it's right. It's on the border. I'm not saying that they're wrong, and I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying that my quantitative method gave a completely different result than the qualitative method. And I find that really interesting. But I find that fascinating, and I'm wondering, what your thoughts on this are. Like, do you agree with white? Do you see white being calming outside of medication? Like maybe you see snow and you're like, oh, that's calming and serene. I see snow and I think, oh crap, I have to dig out my car and driving is gonna suck. It is not calming, but I might have left this on for a really long time. So I'm kind of curious to see, the differences in, I mean, obviously two different methodologies. So I'm not surprised that it came out, that different. But I do find it, fascinating to an extent where I mean, I use a totally different method than they did, so I can't really complain about that. I really like this eyeliner too. It's like the sagey green one. Um, so yeah, I was just wondering, like, do you agree with the white thing, or do you think my purple color is more accurate, even though there's no like right or wrong answer? I just wanted to know like what I would get if I did it, I guess, if that makes any sense. Do you think white should be the color for next year, or do you think that my borderline purple ultraviolet, this is in the shade 6, it's not as daunting as you think it is once you blend it out. So actually I want to see if this is a dupe for the Road Pocket blushes, but that's just a whole nother tangent on its own. Um, I don't know. I mean, like, maybe they should have done like a mixed methodology where they had like part qual and part quant, and then, we're like, hey, what about these options? Or, maybe I definitely included more variables than they did. Absolutely, hands down. And my variables were very much defined. They were not like loose things like, oh, we look at sports. No, it's like, you know what I mean? Or it's like, oh, we're looking at movies and fashion runways. It's like, no, like this variable is this, you know, means this very specific thing. It is not left for really open interpretation for the most part. There's no real subjectivity to it. It's like this color appeared or it didn't appear, and how often did it appear? Like what frequency did it appear? And you know what I mean? So I mean I had those variables in there. It just wasn't. I also the socioeconomic thing. I mean, you could. Oh, did I do every single country? No. And they even talk about politics in their study, and I'm like, "Ooh, okay." When you start going into that realm, it's like, every country is doing their own thing, but they're all interconnected, and then you have this interesting dichotomy as well. So, yeah, I going back into this one because I think it'll match really well. So, yeah, I'm just wondering if you think, they should do like a more mixed method. Um, qual and quant combo to pick their color, or if they just stick with the qualitative method, like by themselves, or do you think they should do, like kind of what I wrote a program and then imported all the data and did the whole thing. So I'm curious, like, what do you think? And do you agree with like how they came up with it, which is kind of, I'm not going to go into the. I mean, they have their own data collection and data analysis and all of that with their anthropology stuff. So, um, yeah, I was just curious because what I got was borderline ultraviolet violet. So I just was like, oh, let's use purple powder and hope I don't look like a corpse. So yeah, I'm just kind of curious. What you thought about that. And I don't know if other people have done, made their own algorithms and actually done like their own study of the data analysis from like a quant perspective. I probably should have read more articles before filming this, but I did not. I've been writing my program. Like, I didn't want to be influenced by other people necessarily when I was writing it. Do you know what I mean? So there's that. I didn't want to have any like bias going into it of what I should or should not do. So I don't know if other people got different results or not, but you have to let me know in the comments because I'm really curious. No. But yeah, let me know what you think and if you agree with the color or if you like the color that my program came up with. Uh, why did it have to be purple? Seriously. Like, of course it was purple. I feel like I'm like running away from purple all the time and it's like, here I am, surprise. You know, like seriously. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and let me know if my under eyes look good. I don't normally use a loose powder under my eyes, let alone a purple one. So I'm sorry my eyeliner looks like that. I was doing it in the monitor. So yeah, please like and subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.